It's time to escape the motherfucking cage. I'm your host, Rotten Ronnie. My co-host, the MADD Mad Matt, is on vacation this week, so I'm rolling solo today. This is episode 7, and if you want to tell us how bad we suck, you can tweet me at escapethecage31 or send an email to escapethecagepodcast@gmail.com. You can find our latest shows on SoundCloud and our archives at YouTube. Just search Escape the Cage Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by NXT TakeOver Dallas, live on the WWE Network, Friday, April 1st, because fuck WrestleMania right now. And, I'm going to go right into it. I'm going to get right into the Hulk Hogan Gawker trial just to get that out of the way. I mean, how fucking weird is it to be a fan of Hulk Hogan? I mean, I'm speaking from personal standpoint. I've been a fan of Hulk Hogan's for 30 years. That's right. Since I was a baby, I was a Hulkamaniac. And huge influence, one of my favorite wrestlers growing up as a kid. And then now fast forward to an adult, and we got footage of Hulk Hogan banging out his buddy's wife. And on top of that, he gets paid $140-something million just for the sex tape being released. Just a quick review, if you're not familiar with the situation. Hulk Hogan and his friend, radio personality Bubba the Love Sponge, who I'm actually a fan of, and I'll throw a free plug at. You can listen to his show at Bubba Army Radio or btls.com, and you can get your idea of Bubba or listen to the show if you're not already a fan. But Bubba is a wild guy. He could be termed a shock jock, but that term's a little old since most radio personalities are a little shocky and a little controversial nowadays. He's one of the better ones, I think. He's almost like a southern rednecky Howard Stern. I don't know how he'd feel about that, but that's just how I kind of view it. He's not as pussified and not as sensitive as some of the other radio personalities out there. He's real honest, real hard hitting. And one of the things about Bubba is that he's into cuckolding. And if you're not sure what cuckolding is, that's when a man likes to watch his wife, girlfriend, or significant other get banged out by another dude. It has nothing to do with the idea of watching your girlfriend get it on with another girl. This is specifically the idea of watching your girlfriend or wife or whatever you may be getting banged out by another guy. Usually while the person's in the same room, but it can also be the idea that they know what's going on in another room. Could be kind of the source of the turn on. Reason why I'm talking about this is because this is what involves Hulk Hogan, and the fact that I guess Hogan claims he was in a low point in his life, and he was hanging out with Bubba the Love Sponge, Bubba Clem, as I'll call him just to keep it short. And Bubba had offered him to, I guess, come over to his house and fuck his wife. And Hogan agreed, went over to the house, and there was an issue of Bubba having a security system installed in his house, and one of the cameras just conveniently happened to be squared up right on the bed. So there was a sex tape that came out a couple years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, of Hogan banging out this woman. It was grainy black and white footage, and so that happened. Hogan was embarrassed, and it kind of seemed to go away a little bit, probably through litigation. But then now, within the past year, it resurfaced hard because the trial started going underway. Hogan wanted to sue Gawker for releasing the tape. Just to give you a quick refresher on how that happened, Bubba Clem has his show in Florida, and one of his former employees by the name of Matt Spiceboy Lloyd actually stole the DVDs out of Bubba's drawer in his office and ended up trying to shop them around in the hopes of A, making money, and B, ruining Bubba's career, and being able to take over. If you're not familiar with Bubba, I'm not going to go too much into it because it's not really going to make a lot of sense to you. If you're already a fan of Bubba's and you know really what's going on. But basically what happened is a DVD was stolen. It was shopped around to various websites. They didn't really get that much of it for it. And then it ended up at Gawker, which Gawker, the website, released it like, I think, 12 seconds or so many minutes of footage on their website. And this is what the whole thing is about. Hulk Hogan was awarded $115 million by the jury, and then an additional, I believe, $20 to $25 million in punitive damages resulting from the release of the sex tape, his losing his job, his personal career or personal life being ruined, his professional career being ruined, and he's got awarded. He won. I mean, can't blame the guy. Will he ever see a dime of that money? I'm gonna say no, only because Gawker isn't based in America. It's up to Gawker to pay the money, even though they have a judgment against them. So, I mean, personally, Hogan may see some, but he's definitely not going to have $140 million in his bank. And I think he knows this because he's actually been putting it out there that he wants his job back with WWE. And if I just got awarded $115 million, you wouldn't hear my fucking voice again. Let me tell you that right now. So there's that. So there's the Hulk Hogan situation. It's just really odd seeing a guy that used to grow up, being a fan. That's like in 20 years seeing a John Cena sex tape, which nowadays, with that whore Nikki Bella that he hangs out with, it's probably not that out of the blue or that out of the, what word am I looking for? I don't know, fuck it. But it could happen. So there's that. There's the Hulk Hogan thing. I thought that was a little bit interesting. Who knows? Maybe we may even see Hulkster back. I mean, maybe he could even show up for WrestleMania. Who knows? Because what they released him for never got released, which I guess were some racist comments that he made on the sex tape, where he was heard saying that he didn't want his wife dating niggers or something along those lines. I'm quoting him. And so that never got released. So I guess, I don't know, maybe we'll see. Maybe he might come back to WWE. Who knows? But so there's that. There's the Hogan thing going on. We got WrestleMania coming up in less than a week away. We got NXT TakeOver Dallas. I'm actually going to talk about NXT TakeOver Dallas because, I mean, WrestleMania has been getting a lot of coverage. There's a lot of other websites and podcasts that are talking about it. You have your opinions. I have mine. Just real quick, it's a writing clusterfuck. WWE thinks that you and I are stupid, and they think that we're so stupid that this is the show that they're going to give us for WrestleMania 32. Granted, there are some matches that look promising, like Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar, the Divas triple threat match, but you have some other matches on there that are just 100% pointless. For one instance, the Usos and Dudley Boys. That has had absolutely no build, no feud, no and you'd think having a 3-hour show on one day and a 2-hour show on another day that you could maybe build something, but they can't because, it's clusterfuck as far as the writing goes. And then the other match that I think makes no sense or really has no place is the New Day versus the League of Nations. This is just a complete lack of tag teams and just throwing something together last minute just to fill space. Within just a few weeks ago, New Day was cutting heel promos, and now they got beat down, and they're kind of starting to suggest that they're doing face promos. I know the crowds have been cheering them and wearing the unicorns and things like that. It's not usually out of the blue for fans to cheer the heels, but now WWE really wants to establish them as faces. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But the match itself has no hype. I'm not looking forward to it at all. I mean, just outright boring. The other thing I thought about the lineup for WrestleMania is I think they should have flipped the IC title with the United States title and making it a multi-man match. They should have had the multi-man match for the United States title and then have the IC title personal. They could have had either Kevin Owens and AJ Styles as a new face, old feud thing going on, or they really could have brought it home hard with the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens feud. But again, they failed miserably, didn't get it off the ground, didn't get it working. So now we have it backwards. We have a match that literally nobody wants to see, which is Ryback and Kalisto. Makes absolutely no sense. Again, no hype, no build, no anything. And then you've got the multi-man match now turned into a ladder match, which, I also think is kind of funny with WWE's recent history of injuries. They're going in to WrestleMania with 3 gimmick matches, a Hell in a Cell, a street fight, and a ladder match. 3 instances where they could really have some injuries. So again, WWE is just showing signs of being in a complete clusterfuck, at least the main roster. And if you're not familiar, the main roster is basically 100% run by Vince McMahon and his producer, Kevin Dunn. If you don't know who Kevin Dunn is, he has been the executive producer of television for a long time now. I'll say probably 20 years or plus or so. And he hates as weird as it sounds, he hates wrestling. I know that's weird to say. Why does a producer hate wrestling, or why does somebody work in the wrestling business when they don't like it? Well, it's television. Kevin Dunn wants to work television. He doesn't want to work wrestling, but he enjoys being part of a major television network because Vince McMahon is butt buddies with people at NBC. And so, just to give you actually an idea, as far as how this is responsible and how the writing goes and why WWE is in such a clusterfuck, I have a clip here of Jim Cornette doing an interview where he speaks about Kevin Dunn and gives kind of like an inside look at the writers' meetings. And granted, what he's talking about was happening in 1997, but if you listen to the interview and you apply what he's talking about then to today, you'll really see that nothing at all has changed. So let me go ahead and get that clip up for you. And I'm going to go ahead and play that. So this is Jim Cornette doing a shoot about Kevin Dunn.
I said, guys, I don't understand why we're doing this, in this way to the Patriot. He's going to get shit on. He's going to get beat. He's not looking good. Why the fuck are we burying this new top babyface?
Now, he's talking about in 1997, they had brought in a guy, Del Wilkins, the Patriot, who was wrestling over in Japan. That gimmick got over really good over in Japan. And so they brought him into America to feud with the Hart Foundation. And what had happened is that he's speaking of an instance where he had come in and basically just got beat down.
And then they start going to the Sable T-shirt spot. And I keep bringing it back because I just want somebody, A, to resolve this, and B, give me one good reason why we have to bury the fucking guy. But they keep changing fucking topics to the T-shirt spot or Sable or whatever the fuck. And so finally I said, well, I'm still wondering about the Patriot. And Kevin Dunn goes, Jim, I find you tiresome. I looked at him, I said, you know what I'm tired of, motherfucker? I'm tired of them Bucky Beaver fucking teeth of yours. And I stand up and I say, and I'm going to pull you across this goddamn table, beat the fuck out of you, which, folks, I'm not Ken Shamrock. I'm not Randy the Natural Couture, but I can whip Kevin Dunn, especially in those days because I was younger and had better knees. And as that happens, everybody starts laughing as like the guy's going to stand up and say something and it's a joke, right? And everybody starts laughing except for Jim Ross, who knew that I was really about to grab Kevin Dunn and pull him over the guy because I just snapped. I was fucking done. And Jared's like, no. I said, no, fuck this fucking shit. When you guys want to talk about some fucking wrestling, come get me. I'll be in my fucking room. And I left and goddamn went up to my fucking room and sat there for another fucking week or another day, seemed like a week, before the goddamn show. And I got out of production meetings with Kevin Dunn for 3 weeks because he didn't want to be in the same room with me. And then it came to Jim from Vince McMahon. You've got to apologize to Kevin Dunn. He's a very important member of the team here. His father once saved the fucking TV tapes from his burning car trunk or whatever. So Kevin's got a job for life. So Kevin Dunn comes over to Vince's house and we sit just the two of us. Vince leaves us alone in Vince's dining room. And as I'm first and only time I have ever apologized to anybody when I didn't mean it. But at the same time, goddamn this fucking guy treated me like I was a guy that ran the Ferris wheel at the county fair. Ever since I'd fucking been there, the wrestling thing and the southern thing and the northern thing, and I was about fed up with this motherfucker. But Vince demanded it. Vince wanted me to. I work here, so I'm going to apologize to the guy. The fucking guy starts crying. But you don't understand, the kids in school, I was always teased about and he started tears, I swear to God, on my mother's grave. Kevin Dunn cried while I was apologizing to him about knocking his Bucky Beaver fucking teeth that everybody talks about behind his back. And he was crying because the kids used to tease him in school, and he was, how could I be mad at the guy when he's crying at me? But at the same time, motherfucker, especially now since you make $2 or $3 million a year since the stock scam, get your fucking teeth fixed. I said, guys, I don't know.
So there's a clip from Jim Cornette back in talking about an incident in 97. And like I said, if you take that situation that he's describing and put it to today, you can really see what's happening. Because back then, it was just a small team of writers sitting around a table working together. Now you basically have a full staff of 30 plus, maybe more writers all sitting around pitching ideas. and then they just go through the Vince McMahon filter and the Kevin Dunn filter, and then we see it. So maybe that can, shed some light in of why you're seeing people like Roman Reigns with no talent, but physically pleasing to the, eye of Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn, and yet then you have people, like kind of someone like a Dean Ambrose who is getting over really popular with the fans, but he's obviously not what Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn see as their top guy. So he's kind of going to get stuck in a void as far as that goes. And if you compare what I just played for you and the current status of the main roster, but then you look at a show like NXT, which I don't even consider a WWE product because it's so vastly different and better that it's not in the same universe as far as I'm concerned. Or even the Lucha Underground, New Japan, you're going to see a wrestling show, and you're going to see interest in the fans. You're going to see fan engagement. You're going to see every fan in the crowd is going to have a shirt on from that promotion or a favorite wrestler, because an actual wrestling show and the way that these other shows are promoted and presented give the fans the ability to invest and really get into the product and really become a fan. With WWE, I'm sorry, they need a changing of the guard. They need a coup d'etat. Really, the fans have the ultimate weapon in the WWE network. After WrestleMania, if Roman Reigns is the last match holding the title up and getting booed, by 80 to 100,000 people at WrestleMania, then what do you think would happen the next night on Raw if a huge chunk of the WWE universe canceled their network subscriptions? It's not like you need a commitment anymore. You can cancel the subscription and sign up the next day. But even just imagine if you could get a huge chunk of people to just leave in one day, to just bam, cancel. And even if they signed up the next day, it would be a sign to WWE, and this is something that I'm really pushing, is that the fans really need to take control back and stop being on automatic mode. It's the automatic thing isn't going to work. It's too complicated now. It's too far gone. It's too far in the dumps. And I'm only frustrated because this is WrestleMania season, and if the rest of the year sucks, you're supposed to be able to get into it during WrestleMania. But if you look at their ratings, Raw's ratings have dropped every single week leading up to WrestleMania, have gone down. With the exception of this last week, I think they were up like a 0.2 points or something like that. But leading up to your biggest show of the year, you've had nothing but declining ratings, declining fan interest, and yet Vince McMahon said in a recent interview that he feels his company could compete with Disney. Like, am I living in the twilight? Like, I know you see what I'm talking about. I know you know what I'm talking about. Am I living in the Twilight Zone? Do I just not see something? Am I missing something? I don't know. Just it's mind-boggling. And I'm going to switch some gears here and talk about some women's wrestling. But before, I got some breaking news. Apparently, WWE's concussion lawsuit that was brought on to them by the Viscera's family, Billy Jack Haynes, and several other wrestlers has been dropped. There's no more concussion lawsuit. So will we see the return of Daniel Bryan? Will we see some more aggressive wrestling now? Will WWE stop? Will we see the curb stomp back? Will we see the Styles Clash hang around? Who knows? But we got some breaking wrestling here on Escape the Cage. The WWE concussion lawsuit's been dropped. So now I'm going to transition. I'm going to talk about some women's wrestling here for a second, because I keep hearing WWE and the WWE Divas speaking about a Divas Revolution, that they've created a Divas Revolution. And I'll be honest with you, I think that is a complete and total joke. And I'll explain why. WWE has been pushing the idea of a strong female role model and women's empowerment, and attempting to try and send a positive message that the Divas aren't just a B show, and they're not just the match to put on while everyone goes and takes a piss break or go get some beer or what have you. They're actually trying hard to push the Divas as a legitimate competition and role models, things like that. And and this is where I have an issue, and this is my personal issue. You have a set of divas who go out there and are supposed to be strong role models for kids on one hand, yet on the other hand, if you watch Total Divas, you'll see that you really just have a handful of the most childish, immature girls, not women, and the furthest thing from a role model. If you watch Total Divas, you'll see nothing but constant drinking, or them wanting to go drink, or them being drunk, or them not knowing how to handle situations in life and constantly needing help from somebody else, usually even a male figure. Doesn't sound like empowered women to me. Just recently on last week's episode, you had Paige, or this week's episode, you had Paige and Alicia Fox were hit up by a gay kid who needed help coming out to his parents. And so Paige right away jumped on and was like, yeah, I'll help you. We're going to talk to your parents. And even in the interview, when they're talking to her about it and they're asking her about it, she even said, she's all, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I don't know how I'm supposed to, And so here's a person who agreed to help someone with a pretty important, part of their life. They're trying to tell their parents that they're gay, which could go either way. You never know. And especially when he had already explained that his parents were strict. And yet then you have someone who, granted, Paige is in her early 20s, I give her all that. But why would you go and ask that, volunteer your assistance to somebody when you really don't even know what you're doing in the first place? This is not a female role model. This is a ditz. This is a moron. This is somebody that just wanted to be able to go walk around and say afterwards that I helped a gay kid with his family. Or same thing if you look at like Nikki Bella or any of the women on there. They're constant just drinking and alcoholics. And, I'm not putting you down if that's what you want to do. If you want to go out and party, then fuck it. If you want to go out and get drunk, then fuck it. But where I'm having the issue is that they're being portrayed as strong female role models. And WWE itself is PG programming. What kind of message is WWE sending to children, and especially to girls, when the women that they're supposed to look up to are constantly drinking, constantly needing men's help doing things, and can't seem to figure life out for themselves? They talk like babies. They talk like children. And it's just on this last episode even, Daniel Bryan wanted to go out and he focuses on spiritual advancement. If that's your thing, cool. If it's not, then cool too, But he wanted to go out on a retreat, focus on spiritual advancement, kind of get himself centered. He revealed that he had been having seizures due to the concussions that he's had. So, the dude's trying to get his life together. Dude's trying to get his life straight so it's not a complete clusterfuck. And yet, meanwhile, everyone else that he brought on the trip, which was Brie Bella, Renee Young, Dean Ambrose, and a couple other people, her brother, Brie Bella's brother, and her, some other people, all they wanted to do right away is vodka shots, tequila shots, margaritas. Even Brie Bella just wanted to be drunk all the fucking time. And like I said, if you're a partier and that's what you want to do, by all means, go for it. Stone Cold used to pop beers and slam them in the fucking ring. All about it. Do it all day long. But Stone Cold wasn't being marketed as someone that your kids should look up to. He was known as a ass kicker, a hellraiser, and someone to cause problems. Whereas the divas and the women in the company they're actively going out of their way to tell children and kids that these are role models. Look up to these women. Look up to it. And they just can't keep it up. They can't handle it. They may be too young to handle that kind of responsibility, or maybe just not as intelligent as, maybe they're just not intelligent enough to handle it. It kind of shows on the show. And I don't know. I just kind of feel that's interesting that, WWE is trying to push this role model thing, and then they do that. And then on top of it even more, the WWE wrestlers are constantly bullying and blocking and saying shitty stuff to fans on Twitter. And granted, the fans are coming at them and calling them assholes and you suck and yada yada. But I mean, dude, these are grown men that are entertainers, that are wrestlers, that are part of a job, that are representing a company that talks about anti-bullying, and then they go around and bully and shit talk on fans on Twitter and block them, and then even boast about how they've blocked these people. They don't know what kind of mental stability these people have. They don't know what's going on in these people's heads. These people could be frustrated. They could be lashing out. They could be reaching out for something. And these guys are so egotistical that they just have to boast about blocking someone on Twitter. I mean, how the fuck are these role models? How the fuck is this something that I'm supposed to get behind? Like, who are these people? Who am I supposed to support? Who am I supposed to think's the badass? The guy that cries on fucking Twitter? I mean, come on, man. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. Now, if you flip the page and you look at NXT, you have a completely different story. You have women that are strong, that get out there, they handle their business. When something happens to them, they, with another bitch coming up to them and talking shit, they talk their shit back. They get in the ring and they handle their business. They put on some of the best matches I've ever seen, and they do it on a consistent basis. Yet the WWE main roster can't seem to follow suit. You got Triple H in charge of creative at NXT. You have Vince and Kevin Dunn in charge of WWE main roster. I mean, it's black and white, folks. It's black and white. It's right there in front of you. And like I said, the WWE fans in the universe, whatever the fuck you want to call them, we have the power. You have the power. I have the power. Everyone has the power. If you don't like what's happening, the only way to change it now, the only way to send WWE a message, you can complain. I can sit here and talk for hours on this machine and talk for hours online, and it's not going to do a fucking thing because they think you're stupid. They think I'm stupid. They think their fans are... I mean, listen to this comment. Eva Marie on NXT has been getting booed out of the fucking building, almost as bad, if not worse, than Roman Reigns. With some of them, I mean, just boo, get the fuck out of here. And this is the kind of delusional shit that they present to you. This is how stupid they think you and I are.
Looks extremely determined early on here and extremely aggressive.
The energy in here is out of control. I'm very much the bad guy and I'm loving it. The type of heat that I get is insane. Everybody's on their feet. I have them entertained at this moment, and I just feel like this is where I'm supposed to be.
I mean, are you serious right now? That right there is how stupid they think you are, and I am, and anyone that watches their programming. That's how stupid they think we are. And we could show them that we're not that stupid by, like I said, the WWE Network is the ultimate weapon. Day after WrestleMania, Roman Reigns is holding the title up. If he gets booed out of WrestleMania, you have a huge chunk of the audience cancel their subscriptions. Like I said, they could even sign back up the next day. But if WWE saw in one day a giant drop in subscriptions and cancellations, it would force them to realize that that they don't have the power anymore, that they can't continually tell the fans that you're a moron and I'm going to shove whatever I want down your throat and you're going to take it. And to be honest, as a fan, it's getting old. It's getting tired. I've quit watching wrestling before because of this. And I know I'm ranting, but fuck, man, it's WrestleMania. I mean, am I wrong in saying that we want something better? Who knows, man? Who knows? And I guess the last thing I'm going to touch on right now is the injuries. WWE is racking up injuries just as bad as the NFL did this year. I actually find it kind of interesting. I don't know if there's something in the water or something these guys are doing, but the NFL had, some of the most injuries this season I think I've ever seen in football. And same thing with WWE. It seems like every week someone's getting hurt, and it seems to be a fundamentals issue. It seems to be that these guys aren't practicing or getting lazy or whatever you want to call it. They may not appreciate me saying that, but Luke Harper just twisted and tore his ACL on Monday. Bad fall. Every week someone's getting hurt. Every week someone's out. John Cena just got pushed out even further till July. They got Cesaro hoping to come back in May. And, fuck, man, they need to figure something out, dude. Something's happening. Something's going on as far as this company goes and as far as the business is going. And it's not good. It's not looking good, in my opinion, as a 20+ year fan. This isn't looking good at all. This is like some WCW 1999, 2001 shit. Or I'll say more like 2001. I know WWE will not go out of business like that, like WCW did, but I can definitely say that they don't seem to have the fans' interest at this point. And as far as their injuries, their WrestleMania, all I got to say is just pay attention to NXT, Lucha Underground, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, TNA even. Give them a shot, because the wrestling's out there, man. And this is bullshit, dude. Stop wasting your money. Stop fucking giving it to Vince. Stop feeding it to him. Stop cheering for him. And let's make some change. I'm going to say it right now. Let's make some change. And I'll come back with you next week. We'll see what's going on, and we'll touch on things. This is Escape the Cage. This was episode 7. I'm your host, Rotten Ronnie. Thank you for listening to my rants and my ravings. If you want to tweet me at escapethecage31 or shoot me an email, escapethecagepodcast@gmail.com. Next week, we should be back with the MADD, Mad Matt. We'll be doing the dual show. And until then, fuck off, motherfuckers, and let's watch some wrestling.